The Revenant growled, stepping between Jake and Echo One, protective. Echo One ignored it. The enemy is coming. They built a new kind of hunter, machines that look like us, but bleed code and lies. Jake asked, "What do you want?" "I want to unite the echoes," the man said. "To finish what we started. To burn the stars." Jake stepped back. "You want war?" Echo One's eyes flared. "I want revenge." Jake shook his head. "There has to be another way." The man's smile vanished. "There isn't." Suddenly, the ship's alarm screamed. The bridge screen lit up with a new signal. "Incoming vessel. Unknown origin. Anon Council. High threat." Jake rushed to the console. The vessel outside wasn't alien. It was human. But wrong. Its hull was twisted, grown from metal and bone. Its signal carried no words, only screams, thousands of voices trapped inside. Kira gasped. "What is that?" The Revenant shuddered. "Corruption. Synthetic virus. Built by the Council. To end us." Echo One looked out the window. "It found this faster than I hoped." Jake turned to him. "Help me stop it." Echo One didn't move. "I'm not here to stop it," he said. "I'm here to control it." Jake's eyes widened. "You're insane." Echo One smiled again. "I've seen what humans are when we let go of peace. We were gods, Jake. It's time to remember." He raised his arm. A pulse of dark energy shot from his wristband into the console. The ship began to change, lights dimmed, systems overloaded. Jake grabbed the controls. "What are you doing?" Echo One's voice was like thunder now. "I am awakening the Leviathan Protocol. This ship was never a lab. It was a weapon. Buried, forgotten. And now," he turned to Jake, "now we see which one of us deserves to wear the name Echo." The floor split apart. Metal claws emerged from the ground, wrapping around the Revenant. Kira leaped to fight, but was thrown back by a shockwave. Jake screamed, trying to shut the system down. The ship roared. And then, darkness. Darkness swallowed the bridge. Jake's breath came hard and fast. The ship trembled as Echo One's power pulsed through its core. Metal claws tightened around the Revenant. The creature growled, struggling, but the restraints were strong. Made for human technology, but twisted by corruption. Kira lay groaning on the floor, blood staining her fur. Jake knelt beside her. "We have to fight back," he whispered, "before it's too late." The ship shuddered again. Lights flickered back to life, but cold, harsh, and blue. Echo One's voice echoed through the corridors. "Echo 9, you will obey." Jake's wristband burned hot. He tried to remove it, but it wouldn't budge. "It's controlling me," he asked. Kira opened her eyes. "You have to break free." Jake closed his eyes. Memories surged, battlefields, losses, moments of hope. Then the Revenant's voice, deep, fierce. "Jake, remember who you are. The Predator does not bow." Jake's eyes snapped open. A fire burned inside him. He rose to his feet. Echo One's voice was cold, relentless. "Resistance is futile." Jake charged forward, ignoring the pain. At the console, he pressed buttons, trying to override Echo One's commands. The ship fought back, systems locked, warnings blared. Then, a sharp crack. The Revenant broke free, tearing through the metal claws. Kira jumped up, ready to fight again. Jake faced Echo One's hologram glowing from the wall. "You can't win," Echo One sneered. Jake clenched his fists. "I'm not just Echo 9. I'm what comes after." He lifted his wristband. It glowed brighter. Suddenly, his body changed. Scars on his arms burned with power. His eyes flashed a fierce blue. He roared, not like a scared human, but like a true predator. The Revenant stepped forward, bowing its head to Jake. "You're the hunter now," it growled. Jake smiled through the pain. "Then let's hunt." Jake stood tall on the bridge, his eyes glowing blue with a fierce new power. The Revenant, freed and loyal, stood beside him. Kira recovered, her claws still sharp, her eyes blazing with determination. The ship hummed, not with Echo One's cold control, but with something wild, something human. Jake's voice was steady. "Echo One turned this ship into a weapon, but we will use it to save what's left of humanity." Outside the viewport, the corrupted warship loomed closer, its metal and bone hull twisted, alive and pulsing with screams. Kira growled, "That thing's not just a ship, it's a nightmare." Jake nodded, and nightmares die when the hunter wakes. The Revenant's low growl filled the room. "I will hunt alongside you, Jake. Let them see what Predator truly is." Echo One's voice crackled through the ship's speakers. "You cannot stop the Leviathan Protocol. Surrender or perish." Jake grinned. "We don't surrender." Suddenly, the ship jolted, system defenses activated. Automated turrets swung into place. Alien crew holograms flickered, ghosts of those lost. Jake pressed buttons, rallying what defenses remained. Prepare for boarding, he ordered. We'll fight fire with fire. Kira's claws slashed through the air. Let them come. Outside, the enemy warship launched smaller attack drones, deadly, fast, relentless. The Revenant lunged forward. I will tear them apart. As drones smashed into the hull, Jake felt the old fear rise. But then he remembered the faces of those who believed in him. The humans lost, the alien allies who doubted, the ship's lonely halls. This is for all of us, Jake whispered. The bridge shook violently. A new alarm blared. Breach in Sector 7. Drones are boarding, Kira snarled. Jake grabbed a plasma rifle. Time to show them what humans are made of. He charged down the corridor, the Revenant and Kira close behind. Metal clanged, energy flared, and screams echoed. Jake's mind raced, his human heart pounding with every step. He was no longer alone. He was the hunter. The corridors shook with the clash of metal and plasma. Drones swarmed like locusts, but Jake, Kira, and the Revenant fought the fury no machine could match. Jake's heart pounded. Every strike, every dodge, every roar from the Revenant pushed him harder. They weren't just fighting to survive, they were fighting to reclaim their future. In Sector 7, the breach widened. The enemy poured through, relentless. Kira's claws slashed, but suddenly she stumbled, caught off guard by a drone's deadly blast. Jake screamed and dove to her side. Blood stained her fur, but she smiled weakly. We don't stop, not now. The Revenant roared, tearing through the enemy ranks. Jake gritted his teeth, fighting through the pain in his arms and legs. Echo 1's control is weakening, the Revenant growled. But it's not over. Jake knew it was true. Echo 1's presence was a shadow lurking, trying to take back control. He turned to the ship's console, fingers flying. We need to shut down the Leviathan protocol. Now. But the ship resisted. Echo 1's voice sneered. You think you can win? You are weak. You will fall. Jake's jaw clenched. No, I'm human. He found the control override. Ancient human tech buried beneath layers of alien systems. His hand hovered, trembling. A voice echoed in his mind, the memory of Earth, a family of sacrifice. Jake pressed the button. The ship groaned. Systems flickered. Echo 1 screamed in digital rage. The Leviathan protocol began to collapse. The enemy drones froze mid-attack, then exploded into sparks. The breach sealed. Silence fell. Jake collapsed, breathing hard. Kira limped to his side. We did. The Revenant bowed its massive head. You are the true predator, Jake Murphy. Jake smiled tiredly. Not just me. All humans. We survive. We fight. We adapt. Outside, the stars shone bright and endless. Humanity was no longer the forgotten race. It was a force to be reckoned with. Jake slowly placed a hand on the Revenant's head. The metal was cold. The skin underneath trembled. I'm sorry, Jake whispered. I forgot you. The Revenant's eyes dimmed, but I remembered. Kira stepped into the hall, still ready to strike. Can we trust it? Jake looked at her. We have no choice. He turned to the Revenant. There are more of you, aren't there? Others still sleep, across the stars, hidden. Jake nodded. We'll wake them. Together. But then, the lights in the hallway blinked red. A new alarm echoed through the ship. Kira snarled. Now what? Jake's wrist device blinked a new signal. From the bridge. Unidentified warship approaching. Cloaked. Human signature. But wrong. Jake looked at the Revenant. Who else survived? The Revenant growled low. Not us. Not yours. Something broken, left behind. Kira's eyes narrowed. Enemies. The Revenant stood. Worse. Jake turned toward the bridge. Then we need to get there before they do. Kira moved beside him. What if they already have? Jake didn't stop walking. Then we take it back. They ran. As they moved through the halls, past the broken bodies of the crew, the wreckage, the darkness, Jake noticed something strange. The doors opened for him. The ship responded. It was old tech, buried under alien upgrades, but it was human at the core, and it recognized him. They reached the bridge. The door was sealed. Jake placed his hand on the panel. Echo 9 confirmed, Welcome back, Commander. The doors opened, and inside stood another human. Alive. Smiling. Wearing a black uniform with the same wrist device. But his eyes were pure white. He turned slowly. Echo 9, he said. I've been waiting. The bridge was silent. Jake Murphy stepped in, Kira and the Revenant close behind. In the center stood the man, pale skin, black uniform, and eyes glowing white like frostbitten stars. Jake's heart pounded. "You're human," he said, his voice uncertain. The man smiled. "No, I was." He took a slow step forward, and the lights flickered with his movement. "I was Echo One, first commander of the Apex program. First to awaken, first to fall." Jake blinked. "Apex program?" Kira stepped beside Jake, claws raised. "Explain." The man's voice was calm like a teacher in a ruined classroom. "When humanity grew too powerful, the Galactic Council made a decision. They could not defeat us in open war, so they offered peace, then betrayal." He touched the control panel. Images lit up. Earth cities burning, memory wipes, commanders sealed in cryo prisons. They destroyed our records, erased our history, scattered us. Jake's hands trembled. "But a few of us," the man said, "were hidden in vaults. Sleepers. Like you." Jake asked, "Who hit us?" The man smiled faintly. "Us. We knew betrayal would come. So we buried ourselves in time, hoping one of us would wake before they did." He stepped closer to Jake. "But you weren't supposed to wake up first." Kira snarled. "Why not?" The man's smile turned cold. "Because you're the weakest." Jake flinched. "You weren't a general. You weren't built to lead fleets. You were just a science officer, Echo 9, the observer." Jake shook his head. "I remember the war. I remember leading soldiers." "No," the man said. "You remember watching. You remember the blood, the loss, the failure. You were never a warrior. You were our last hope if everything else failed." Kira looked at Jake. "Is this true?" Jake didn't answer. His mouth was dry. His chest ached. "Echo 9 must be activated." Jake blinked. "How?" "Place your hand on the core," it said, "and remember." Kira grabbed his shoulder. "This could kill you." Jake looked at the vault, at the predator from his nightmares, at the memory of what humans once were, at the chance to be something more. He stepped forward and touched the orb. It burned. His mind exploded with images, battlefields, pain, loyalty, betrayal. He saw himself leading troops, giving orders, flying ships into enemy hives. He screamed. His knees hit the floor. Blood dripped from his nose. The orb didn't stop. It kept pouring memories into him, his true past. Kira stood over him, shouting, "Let go. Let go." But Jake couldn't. He needed to see. And then he saw her. The predator hunting the ship. Not a beast. Not a monster. But an old ally, a weapon he once commanded. Designation, Revenant, the voice whispered. Last survivor of Project Gravidust. Purpose, to guard Echo 9. Status, corrupted. Jake's eyes snapped open. "It's not hunting me. It's trying to stop me." Kira snarled. "Then we need to kill it." Jake stood slowly, still shaking. "No, I need to talk to it." Kira stepped back, her fur bristling. "You're insane." But Jake wasn't sure anymore. He looked at the orb, then at the hallway outside, then at the glowing scars on his arms, new but ancient in design. They looked like the ones in the old images, the marks of a commander. The vault lights flickered. Jake turned to Kira. "We're not just running anymore." He picked up a small cube from the platform beside the orb. It snapped open into a bracelet and locked onto his wrist. A deep hum filled the air. From the shadows outside, a growl echoed. The Revenant was here, and it had come for its master. Jake Murphy stood in front of the vault, his wrists glowing with ancient human tech. Kira crouched beside him, eyes locked on the hallway where heavy footsteps echoed closer, slow, steady, like something sure it couldn't be stopped. The Revenant was near. Jake's mind still buzzed with visions from the vault, wars long past, alien empires crushed by human hands, and the Revenant, a creature made by humans to fight their worst enemies, built from fear, controlled by trust. And now corrupted. Jake tightened his fist. His hand shook, but not from fear. From memory. "Jake," Kira said, her voice low. "That thing tore through Corphic warriors like paper. We can't fight it." Jake didn't answer. He stepped into the hallway alone. "Jake." He turned back. "Stay there. If this goes wrong, run." The Revenant appeared. 7 feet tall, skin like smoke, 4 arms, teeth like broken knives. His eyes glowed faint blue, but flickered like a dying star. It stopped 10 meters from Jake. A ship groaned under its weight. Jake held up his wrist. "Do you remember me?" The Revenant twitched. One eye blinked. The other cracked with light. Its voice came out broken and deep. "E-2-9. Jake's chest tightened. "Yes, it's me." The Revenant stepped forward. Kira raised her claws from the shadows. Jake stayed still. The creature looked down at him, sniffed the air, growled but softer now, like an old animal unsure of what it smelled. Jake raised his wrist again. Stand down. The Revenant shook. Protocol, broken, memory, fractured. Jake stepped closer. Stand down, he repeated. This is an order. The Revenant dropped to one knee. Kira gasped. Jake didn't move. His heart slammed against his chest, but the Revenant wasn't attacking. It bowed. Heko. Nime, return. To command. Jake's voice broke. What happened to you? They turned me against the last of you. After the war, they locked us away. I waited, but the code corrupted. Sirens blared. Red lights flashed through the dark metal halls of the stellar dawn. Something had gone terribly wrong. Jake Murphy ducked under a control panel, his heart beating like a drum. The metal floor was cold against his knees. The emergency alarm was deafening, but what scared Jake more were the footsteps, heavy, fast, and inhuman. He clutched the tool in his hand, a useless scanner. He wasn't a soldier. He was just the human biologist on a ship full of aliens who barely spoke to him unless they were mocking him. Pathetic ground walker. One of the Corfec warriors had called him just yesterday. They were the muscle of the ship, 7 feet tall, covered in green armor like scales, and always grinning with too many sharp teeth. Jake had tried to ignore them, focus on the research, stay quiet, stay useful. But today something was different. The alarm meant one of two things, a breach or a predator. A few hours earlier, everything had been normal. Jake was in the lab, working on alien microbes from a nearby planet. The stellar dawn had stopped near an uncharted moon just outside the edge of known space. There were strange energy signals, and the captain wanted samples. Jake had stayed behind while the main team went down. He wasn't allowed on missions. Too weak, the commander had once said. Now they weren't answering. The away team had stopped sending messages 20 minutes ago. Jake checked the ship logs. Life signs were dropping. Something had boarded the ship, or someone had let it in. Footsteps echoed closer. Jake's breathing slowed. He pressed himself into the shadows behind his storage crate, shaking. A figure appeared in the hallway, massive, fast, and low to the ground. It wasn't a Corfec. It wasn't any crew member Jake knew. Its skin shimmered like black oil, and its eyes glowed faint blue. It sniffed the air and growled. A deep, wet sound that made Jake's bones feel cold. It was hunting. Jake held his breath. Then, a voice, deep and clear, echoed through the intercom. Containment failure in Sector 6. Predator-class lifeform detected. Code red. The creature paused. It looked toward the ceiling, confused for a moment. Jake took the chance. He moved quietly, step by step, down the opposite hall. He turned the corner and ran. He didn't know where to go. He didn't have weapons. He didn't have backup. But he had his brain. And right now, his brain told him the ship wasn't safe. The crew was compromised, and someone had brought that thing on board, on purpose. Jake reached the security room. The door was locked. He typed in the override code, hands shaking. The door opened with a hiss. Inside, screens showed every hallway, every lab, every deck. Jake saw bodies. Corfec warriors slaughtered, their green scales shredded like paper. Crew members ripped apart, no blood. The Predator had drained them somehow. Jake stared in horror. These were the same aliens who had bullied him, ignored him, laughed at him. Now they were dead. Only one alien moved on the screens, a large, white-furred predator from the Zarnak species. Her name was Kira Thorne. She was the apex predator of the crew, fast, smart, and deadly. She had never spoken to Jake before, just looked at him like he was weak. But on the screen, Jake saw something strange. Kira wasn't running. She wasn't fighting. She was standing over a Corfec body, sniffing it, and turning to look straight at the camera. At him. Jake leaned forward. Was she signaling something? Then the screen blinked. A new message appeared. Jake Murphy, meet me at the vault. Bring no one. He blinked. The vault? That was deep in the ship in the restricted section. Only officers had access. Jake wasn't an officer. But he was the last living crew member who could read alien codes. He had worked with the vault systems for a research project last month. Maybe that was why she called for him. Or maybe this was a trap. Still, he had no other choice. Staying meant dying. Jake grabbed a scanner, a comlink, and a small power blade. More tool than a weapon. He exited the room and started moving. The hallways were dark now. Emergency lights flickered. In the distance, he heard screams. Or maybe echoes. He wasn't sure anymore. He reached the elevator shaft. It was locked down. He climbed the emergency ladder, his muscles aching. He wasn't built for this. He was just a lab rat, a bully human, a nobody. But something inside him was changing. The fear was still there, but underneath it, something else was growing. Determination. He reached the vault level. The door loomed ahead. Thick steel, ancient markings, sealed with multi-species codes. Kara stood in front of it. She looked wounded. Her fur was burned on one side. She held her claws out, not as a threat, but as a sign of peace. "Human," she growled softly. Jake stopped a few feet away, breathing hard. You sent the message." She nodded. "You can speak English. Basic language is easy," she said. "But I never had reason to speak to prey." Jake stiffened. Kira looked at the vault door. "Inside is something your people once hid from the stars, something you and the council forgot." Jake frowned. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because the thing hunting us," she said, her voice low, "is older than any of us. And it knows you." Jake's mind spun. "What do you mean?" "It knows me." Kira stepped closer. "It called you by name." Silence fell between them. Then, a crash from behind. The predator was close. Jake turned to the vault. His fingers trembled as he input the codes. Old symbols lit up. The door began to open. Kira stood beside him, ready to fight. "You are not just prey," she said. "You are the last spark of something your kind once was." Jake looked at her. "What did we used to be?" Kira growled, her eyes hard. "Predators of gods." The vault door opened, and a cold wind swept out. The lights flickered. Inside was not just a room. It was a tomb of ancient human tech, glowing, humming, alive. And something inside it woke up. The vault hissed open, revealing cold blue light. Jake stepped inside slowly. The air felt heavy, like it hadn't moved in centuries. Kira followed behind him, limping slightly, her claws ready. Inside, the walls were covered in old Earth symbols. English, Latin, even languages Jake didn't recognize, but he felt them, like a memory trying to wake up. In the center of the room stood a large black orb. It hovered above the floor, pulsing like a heartbeat. Machines circled it, silent, ancient, but not dead. "What is this?" Jake whispered. Kira stayed near the entrance, the last memory of a forgotten war. Jake moved closer to the orb. His scanner gave no reading. The technology wasn't alien. It was human, older than any Earth record. A soft voice echoed through the room. Designation confirmed. Human genome detected. "Welcome, Echo 9. Jake froze. "What did it call me?" "Echo 9, Kira said slowly. "You don't know." Jake shook his head. "I've never heard that name before." The orb lit up. Images appeared in the air. Cities floating in space, fleets of human warships, entire planets turning dark. "Long ago," the voice said, "humanity reached beyond the stars. We built empires. We challenged the old races. We became predators of predators." Jake watched the images: war, peace, betrayal. Entire alien civilizations kneeling before humans. But then silence. The next images showed burning Earth colonies, humans falling, their memories erased. "They feared our rage," the voice said. "So they made you forget." Kira's eyes narrowed. "The Galactic Council hid this." Jake's chest tightened. "Why?" The orb pulsed again. "Because if the last echo woke up, the war would begin again." Jake staggered back. "I'm not a soldier. I'm not some weapon." Kira stepped beside him. "Then why is the predator after you?" Jake couldn't answer. He looked down at his hands, soft, small, weak. But the orb, the ship, the vault, they all responded to him like he was someone else. Someone powerful. Then the ship shook. Loud. Violent. Something had broken through the deck above. "They found us," Kira growled. Jake turned to the orb. "Can you help us? Can you fight?" The voice answered, cold and calm.